Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video, which is going to be an update on the Eufy products that I've actually had installed for a little while now. So if we just come into the app and I'll click into the doorbell. The doorbell was actually the first product that I actually installed, and the cameras were put up slightly later. So for that reason, we'll come into the doorbell just to take a look at the stats, battery life, that kind of thing. So essentially it's been used for 25 days. I've actually had it for, I would say, maybe a day longer. I left it charging for 1 day initially. So 25 days usage, as you can see from the current battery level, which is 72%. Now that's actually not too bad, considering within the first couple of days it actually dropped down quite fast. I think I did actually amend the settings slightly, and I changed it to optimal surveillance. I think originally I may have had it on custom recording. But basically with the doorbell, you don't really need clips that long. So whereas having it up to your length, possibly up to 120 seconds is good with security cameras, with a doorbell, realistically, you don't really need it that long. So what I did find was just changing it to optimal surveillance. As you can see, there's been a lot of events and a lot of false events have actually been filtered out as well. And recorded and save events is 362. With the doorbell, I do like the fact that if we come into the notifications settings, you can disable mobile notifications. So even though you've got motion detection on, you can actually have the notifications disabled. This is something that I do like about the doorbell setup. However, obviously right now, it's not got the key thing that I actually wanted it for, which was HomeKit support. I am told that is supposed to be coming, but it's not available just yet. Today is the 17th of August when I'm actually making this video. Obviously you're going to see this much later just because of the way that I upload videos. But essentially, so far so good with regards to the doorbell. I've not had any issues where it's not worked. I've not had any issues where it's really failed to detect via the motions setup either. But the one thing I don't like about it is when you actually pair it with a hub. I'm not sure whether you can see it on this particular page, but basically if we come back to the home bases, so as you can see, I've got one labeled camera home base and one for doorbell. Now, the one thing I would have liked would have been if I could actually pair the doorbell with both home bases, because that way the camera one is obviously in my bedroom, and as you can see here, there's no option where you can actually pair it with more than one home base at the moment. Obviously normally the situation would be you buy all your kind of things in one go and you only get one home base, you wouldn't have a second one. But with me being in this situation where I do have to, and with the way my house is laid out, it would actually benefit me to be able to have the chime play on both doorbells. It's not the end of the world, because you can set it up on your phones and your tablets, and then basically it'll ring the chime on them as well. But that would have just been an extra little thing that I would suggest that Eufy could possibly look into, where you can pair it with more than one home base just for the chime. It doesn't have to do the recording on each one. I'm guessing that's the reason why it doesn't allow you, because obviously it stores all your recordings and everything onto one of the home bases. So, but just for the chime option, it'd be good if they could actually have it set so then you can install on more than one. Now, looking at the battery life, obviously we've just gone past obviously a quarter of the battery life on there, and it's basically 25 days. So and the first few days it did drop down a lot faster. So roughly, let's say 4 months usage out of a single charge, roughly going by what I've got right now. And this is very heavy usage, as you can see from how many events it's actually detected. So with the doorbell, even if you wanted to set it lower, you possibly could and get much more battery life out of it. For comparison's sake, my previous just generic kind of doorbell would last roughly around 2 to 3 months, but that was only with motion disabled. So the fact that this has got motion enabled and it detects and records several times a day because of kids literally going out to drop stuff in the bins and stuff like that, because of that, obviously this so far so good with regards to battery life on the doorbell. So even though initially I think my initial video was one where I wasn't really very impressed by how quickly it was dropping down. But having given it a little bit of time, and obviously when it's had a chance to actually learn and settle down a bit, it does seem to be performing a bit better. Now let's come on to the... We'll start with the back garden camera because obviously I've made a little change on this. So the back garden camera is on 88% after 25 days. But with this, I do have motion disabled. So as you can see from this, I've got it on optimal surveillance for whenever I do switch the motion detection on. So occasionally when I do go out, what we do is we leave the back gate open and we ask for deliveries to be posted into the back garden essentially. So for that reason, I can enable the motion detection for those periods, and obviously if we come into motion detection, if I actually switch it on, what you'll see is I'll literally switch it to high, but only whilst I'm actually when I actually need it. For the most part, I don't actually need motion recordings constantly for the back garden because it's literally only the kids that will go there. It's cordoned off on most sides anyway. It's literally, as you can see, we've got fencing both sides if it wants to load, and then it's literally only this tiny little section here where there's a little break in the fences on the neighbor's side where somebody could possibly come in. But other than that, there's no real reason. This is literally just for keeping an eye on things, and also literally just because they come in a pair. So coming into the front garden or front drive camera, if we just come into power settings for this one, so currently it's on 83% after 25 days. This, once again, like the doorbell, initially did drop down very fast. But what I have noticed is originally I did have it on customized recording, so this is how I had it set. And then eventually I literally just switched it back to optimal surveillance because essentially it is the same thing, because if you look at it, it records clips up to 60 seconds, but generally nobody really stands around on the driveway for long enough. The one thing about this, and as you can see from the stats, 1141 detections, events detected, 923 were filtered, and 218 were actually recorded. Now the biggest problem with this particular camera, and it's more so a fault with these cameras in general and the way in which this has been mounted. So it's even though it doesn't look it, this is actually mounted quite high up. This is basically mounted just level with my bedroom window. It's actually mounted to the windowsill on my bedroom window. So because of that, and because of the fact that the motion detection distance is only about 5 to 10 feet, so because of that, somebody literally has to come right down here and be walking really, really slowly before it'll actually detect. So we have had occasions where, in fact, I'll show you. So if we come back to yesterday and we take a look at, let me find one here. So this particular Royal Mail worker does tend to always walk pretty slowly, but as you can see, it's only detected him once he's got halfway down the actual drive, and then similarly when he's going back, it'll literally catch it as he's maybe 2 or 3 steps in already. Now if we take a look at take a look at the motion zones, the activity zones, as you can see, I've pretty much got the whole drive mapped up, but realistically it's only going to actually pick up, I've just messed that up. I'll just come out of that because I don't want to mess that up. But if I just go into the camera live, realistically it's only going to actually pick up about halfway, so the person has to walk really, really slowly down to about halfway. Occasionally I've actually gone in my car and drove off, and it's not actually picked up the person. So because I've got it filtering other things out, so cars, things like that, basically it doesn't actually make that recording because it thinks it's just the car moving. It doesn't actually detect the person. And also if it doesn't actually, sometimes if it can't get the right angle to see your face at any point, then it also won't record either. So that was a bit of a problem, namely because I actually had one instance where somebody apparently was meant to come and do some work for us, and none of that was actually recorded because it was actually on this particular post. So that end post was actually replaced. But because of the fact that it's right on the end of the drive and at no point did he come down to this section here, it didn't actually capture any of that. So he's literally called me, he's done the repair, and basically we were none the wiser in terms of notifications from the camera. Obviously, there was somebody home, so they were aware that he's come and he's done the job because basically he got paid for it. But it didn't actually do any recordings on the day. And later on, obviously, I've come back and I've done a few tests, and I literally have to walk down to here before it'll actually detect. So that's a slight issue, but that's obviously one of those things where it's going to happen unless I get something similar to my previous setup, which was a 24/7 recording. So it recorded no matter, it wasn't reliant on motion detection. So yeah, so that side of it isn't great, but like I say, it's something that I can probably live with. Now the HomeKit side of things, obviously the main reason for buying these was for HomeKit, and what I have found is, as you can see here, so clicking into the front driveway seems to be working perfectly fine, and clicking into the back garden, that's working fine as well. I do have a rear link via Homebridge setup. I've not actually got that switched on at the moment, so it's not going to work either way. And it does also obviously give you the separate motion sensors. They are actually visible through HomeKit, but similarly, again, because of how close you have to be before these actually kick in, I'm not actually comfortable using just these. So at the moment I do actually have another one. If I come to it, where is it gone? So this one here, so this is actually an Aqara motion sensor that I've got mounted outside, and I use this for various scenes to actually play a doorbell chime and things like that, as I mentioned in previous videos. And the idea was I could actually get rid of that one and just use this one, because essentially it's doing the same thing. But the problem is, because of the fact that you literally have to get so close, I'm not 100% comfortable using this one, just in case we do end up missing a delivery or something because of that. So if the camera was mounted lower, then yes, like the back garden one, you could probably use that, not a problem. But with the driveway one, just because of the fact that where it's mounted, because it is so high up, they literally have to get right next to it before it'll actually the light comes on and you can see that it's detected a motion. Now it's not all perfect, and what I'll do is I'll insert some video clips that I've actually recorded. So the first one is basically a 37-second clip, I think, and it just shows how quite often, not very often, but I've had it on 2 or 3 occasions where certain cameras will literally just say no response. And if you go into the camera itself, it'll play via the Eufy app, but when you go back to HomeKit, it's basically, it just shows no response. You can click on it as many times as you like. You can close the app, go back in. I think I'd also tried going into airplane mode and back out again, and that still didn't work. And then I've also had other issues where on 2 occasions, the front drive camera, so the driveway camera, actually stopped responding through the Eufy app as well. And the camera's home base, actually, the light on the front of it went red to show that it's not connected. It was kind of strange because it was still connected to the network, because I could still go into it and actually use the restart device option. Now, there have been a few system updates in the background, so that's one good thing about it. All the updates, they literally just happen in the background. You don't really have to worry about it. But as you can see, we've had a back garden one, a doorbell, and a driveway one. So all 3 have been updated, but only the driveway camera and the driveway home base were the ones that actually stopped responding through the Eufy app. And obviously, because it had completely gone offline, it was no longer available through HomeKit either. And that's one of those things where it's happened on 2 separate occasions, and it actually happened like maybe 2 or 3 days apart. And the second time it happened, it actually got me really frustrated, because I was thinking, like, I literally had a Rio Link camera that was wide, and yes, it was awkward and it was shining through a window, so it was not ideal at all times, but it had extra functionality. So it had 24/7 recording, it had time lapse that it was constantly doing in the background, and basically you never had to worry about it. It was always on. With this, obviously the fact that it went down on those two occasions, it did get me very frustrated. And at one point I was thinking, look, if it does it a third time, I may even send these back and basically wait and see if, because there are pro models supposedly coming. They're already out in America, but they're not available here in the UK. I did actually contact Eufy, and basically they came back with their generic thank you for buying our products, but the Eufy Cam 2 Pro is not available in the UK just yet. No idea when the release date will come. It's not the end of the world, obviously, with me having just purchased these for quite a bit of money. When the Eufy Cam 2 Pro does come out, all I'll do is I'll buy one of those to replace the driveway camera, and then I'll just relocate the driveway camera to somewhere else. So maybe put it over the my front door or something like that. So I can make use of that and literally just buy a single pro camera and just add it to the home base that I've already got. So that itself isn't too much of a problem, but it was just the fact that on 2 or 3 occasions, the HomeKit side of things, occasionally you'll get the no response, but it was more so the fact that it's when it completely went down in the Eufy app and I had to actually do a physical restart of it. On one occasion, the app wouldn't respond. So the first time it happened, the app wasn't responding, and I had to actually just switch, basically unplug the home base and then switch it back on. On the second occasion, it was actually still connected. The light was red, and I could just go into camera's home base and basically just use this restart device button, and basically that did the trick. Now, what else? So I'll also insert 2 clips now of some heavy weather that basically in the UK we had about a week of really hot weather. So it was roughly like 31 degrees, which for the UK is pretty hot, pretty much all week. And what actually happened was we were supposed to be getting these thunderstorms coming, and it just didn't happen. And then eventually, it was only, as you can see from here, the August the 12th, it was only for maybe a 10-minute period. But we did finally get a bit of a downpour. And what I tried to do was just capture to see what it looks like via each method. Now, the one other thing that I have noticed is downloaded videos. So when you actually download a clip from the recorded videos, they can tend to become corrupted on the iPhone. And this doesn't happen with any other device, any other recording, so any other third-party app or anything like that. But I've noticed on 2 or 3 occasions, same with the Doorbell videos as well. If you leave it in your camera roll for too long, it basically doesn't quite play back properly. So when you start playing back, you might get a green screen come on it, or you get other weird, like with this, you get this weird kind of artifacting, but it doesn't seem to affect any other app. And if you play it back through the Eufy app, it also plays back fine as well. So it is kind of strange that this only happens with these recordings. Generally only lasts maybe a couple of seconds anyway, so it's not the end of the world. And these were manual recordings. These weren't motion recordings. These were ones where I've actually gone into the Eufy app and just recorded manually. Apparently the quality is also meant to be better. I'm not 100% sure which way round it is, whether the motion recordings are better or whether the manual recordings are better, but apparently one of them does have a higher bit rate than the other. And similar things, early tests on the 2K, basically the Pro camera, is that manual recordings actually record in 2K, whereas motion recordings, I believe this is the right way around, actually record in 1080p. So that's something that I'll need to test as and when they do actually become available. But other than that, so far so good. I am so far looking to stick with them. And similarly, again, as I say, I'll keep on top of this, and I was trying to do this after a month. I was hoping to wait out for 30 days, but next week I'm actually on a night shift, so I probably wouldn't have got the chance to actually film this video. That's why I thought I'll get it done this week. Only other things of note really is I wish they would introduce a time-lapse feature for the cameras. So with it, for example, in HomeKit, if we come into it, every 10 seconds it does a refresh in HomeKit. So if you just look in the bottom right, just there, after 10 seconds it'll actually do a little refresh of the camera. I wish they would do a similar thing through the Eufy app, where it will actually do it will give you the option to actually do a time lapse just throughout the day, and it only has to be like one photo every minute. And obviously they can put in a disclaimer saying obviously this will affect your battery life. As I've said in the past, if it gives you features and it makes it a lot easier in terms of wiring and things like that, I don't mind having worse battery life because of it. So for example, if they introduce the time lapse feature, that would at least mean that you wouldn't miss anything. So yeah, it's not going to capture like, obviously it's going to be, your time lapse is going to be pretty fast, but it's an extra feature. So for that, you're willing to, whenever you need to actually use it. So for example, if I'm working on my car, because of the way this is angled down, it would be perfect for just to start a time lapse, and it'd basically capture a nice time lapse of me working around my car and things like that. Or if I angle this up and you can do a sunrise and sunset kind of time lapse. So for those little things, I wish they would introduce some extra features. I get that it's not really a security kind of feature, but that's just something that I'd say is a suggestion for Eufy, to think about adding that to the app. But other than that, obviously the video has gone on for quite a bit of time, so I'll leave it at this, and then what I'll do is I'll give you periodic updates, probably try and do them once a month, but I'll monitor the actual battery life and see how that's going in terms of as and when I'll actually do the updates. Obviously, if the battery life declines massively within a month, then I'll update that sooner. All things being well, then basically should be seeing another one of these in a month's time.